Have you ever faced a moment where everything you worked for just collapsed? Where you thought this is the end of the road and maybe just not good enough? If you've been there, then this story will speak to your heart. Because sometimes failure isn't the end, it's the doorway to a success far greater than we can imagine. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young man full of dreams. He wanted to build something of his own, something that would change his life and maybe even help others. He wasn't born rich. He didn't have powerful connections, but he had hope, passion, and an almost stubborn belief that he could do something meaningful. So he started. He worked late into the night while his friends slept. He sacrificed weekends and comfort, and every coin he earned, he invested back into his little dream. Slowly, things began to take shape, and for a moment, it looked like success was just around the corner. But then everything crumbled. His plans failed, the money he saved was gone, and the people he trusted walked away. Soon, he found himself sitting in a small room with empty pockets and a heart heavier than stone. He failed completely. It's easy to talk about failure when you're on the other side of it, but in the moment, failure feels like the end of your story. He asked himself the same questions you and I ask when things go wrong. Why me? Why did I even try? Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. For weeks, he hid his pain and thought of quitting on his dream altogether. But one night, unable to sleep, he sat with nothing but a pen and a notebook. He began writing down every mistake he made, every wrong decision, every time he ignored his gut. At first, it was painful, but then he realized those mistakes weren't there to break him. They were there to teach him. And that night, something clicked. He decided his failure wasn't going to be his ending. It was going to be his beginning. The next morning, with no money and no grand plan, he started again. This time differently, this time smarter. He applied every lesson failure had carved into him. He stopped chasing shortcuts, stopped worrying about what others thought, and focused only on growth, one step at a time. At first, nothing magical happened. Progress was slow. He still faced rejections. He still felt fear. But unlike before, he didn't give up. Every no became fuel to push harder. Every mistake became a stepping stone. And little by little, his new efforts began to bloom. Years later, that same man who once thought he had lost it all built something extraordinary. A business that not only gave him financial freedom, but also inspired thousands of people around him. His story became a reminder that failure is never final unless you let it be. Now, you might wonder who this man was. Was he a famous entrepreneur, a celebrated leader, someone in the news? The truth is, it doesn't matter, because this story could be about anyone. It could be about you. Each of us carries failures. Maybe you failed an exam. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe a relationship you cared about fell apart. Or maybe, like this young man, you chased a dream and ended up flat on the ground. But here's the truth. Failure doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do after failure. Think of Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. J.K. Rowling, rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Steve Jobs, fired from the very company he created before returning to make it one of the most valuable companies in history. They all had one thing in common: failure, and then resilience. Because failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of success. It's the painful but necessary teacher that shapes us, strengthens us, and pushes us to become the best version of ourselves. So let me ask you, What's your failure? What's the story you've been carrying like a weight? Maybe you've told yourself it's proof you're not good enough. But what if, instead, it's proof that you're closer than you think? Failure means you tried. It means you had the courage to step out when others stayed safe. It means you already on the path where success lives. You just haven't reached the finish line yet. And maybe, just maybe, your failure today is the reason for your success tomorrow. Remember the young man in this story. He didn't succeed because life suddenly got easy. He succeeded because he refused to stay down. He turned failure into a stepping stone. You can do the same. The road won't be smooth. It will test your patience, your faith, and your strength. But the ones who win aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who never quit. So today, make a promise to yourself. Promise you won't let failure define you. Promise that no matter how many times you fall, you'll rise again. Promise that you'll look at every setback, not as a wall, but as a lesson. Because one day, when you look back, you'll see that what felt like your greatest failure was actually the beginning of your greatest success. Your story isn't over. In fact, it's just getting started. If this story touched you, leave a comment below and share one failure that taught you a lesson. Because when we share, we inspire, and maybe your story could give someone else the strength to keep going. And if you believe in turning failures into stepping stones, then hit subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear these words today. Because the truth is simple. A failure that became success isn't just a story, it's a journey, and it could be yours.